Hello, how are you? I hope you are doing fine wherever you are. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Grace and I love Christ as my personal Savior. Today is another day that the Lord has made, that we should be glad and be joyous in it. Today we have another teaching or we have another lesson to learn. And this one is an encouragement to anyone going through a struggle or a season of where your enemy has taken over you and you feel like giving up in this season. I want to teach about that the Lord is going to give you power over your enemy and you will come out victorious. So the topic is that the Lord will give you power over your enemy and victory shall be your portion. So today I want us to study the story of Goliath and David. This is a story that we learned from primary school in our CRE books, and this story really encouraged us, or really at times we could not understand why David, a small boy, was able to defeat a very huge guy, a man who was dressed with battle clothes and all that. But this is so deep according to the word of God, because David was an anointed person by the Lord. And at this time when Goliath was encountering with David on this battle, it was a time that the Philistines were against the people of Israel. And at this time, Israel was going through a lot, because when Goliath came out and said that he wanted somebody or one person who could fight against him, he was so huge. His description of how tall he was, how huge he was, about his clothing is described so well in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 16 and 17. So at this time, there was no one in Israel who wanted to fight Goliath. So there was David, the son of Jesse, who was a small boy who was taking care of his father's sheep. And at this time, he was sent by his father to come and look after his brothers who were in the fight. That was the three first sons, the Eliab, Abinadab, and the third one was Shammah. So they were in the battlefield, and David was sent by his father to go and check on them as he brought some food. And it is at this time he heard that there was this man Goliath who was looking for a man in Israel who would fight him. And David took he took the thing. He took the option of fighting Goliath. He said that he would fight him. So he went to Saul and told him that he is going to fight with this huge man. But Saul was so afraid, and he told him to wear the clothes, the heavy clothes and all the things, and he was given the sword and everything. And when David tried to walk, it was so heavy. The clothes were so heavy, and he said he cannot walk. So he decided to leave the clothes and the swords, and he decided to go in a stream. He collected 5 smooth stones, and he had a string. He just went simply, and because the power of the Lord was upon him, he was able to fight Goliath. I want to read some different verses in 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 16. I'll jump and we shall see how David was given power over the enemy of the whole nation of Israel and the victory that they had. So in chapter 17 of 1 Samuel, I'll start from verse 16, how it started. That Goliath challenged the Israelites every morning and evening for 40 days. One day Jesse said to David, "Take 10 kilograms of this roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and hurry with them to your brothers in the camp, and take these 10 cheese to the commanding officer. Find out how your brothers are getting on and bring back something to show that You saw them, and that they are well. King Saul, your brothers, and all the other Israelites are in the valley of Elah fighting the Philistines." So they were those are the brothers that he was going to check. And Goliath had challenged the Israelites for 40 days and 40 nights. Remember, these 40 days has a lot of meaning, because it's also in 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus was fasting, and after the 40 days it's when he was tried by the devil. So it has a meaning. So David got up early and next morning and left someone else in charge of the sheep, took the food and went to Jesse. Went as Jesse had told him. Now Jesse is his father. He arrived at the camp just as the Israelites were going out to their battle line, shouting the war cry. The Philistine and the Israelite army took up position for battle, facing each other. David left the food with the officer in charge of the supplies, ran to the battle line, went to his brother and asked how they were getting on. As he was talking to them, Goliath came forward and challenged the Israelites as he had done before. So this was a trend. He was always challenging the Israelites. Who gonna fight me? So at this time, David saw him and he challenged the Israelites as he had been doing. And David had him. When the Israelites saw Goliath, they ran away in terror. He was so big. This man was so huge. Even by the looks of the physical, you could also run away, because they had no person who was would be compared to his hugeness and height that would fight him. Verse 25, "Look at him," they said to each other. "Listen to his chariot. King Saul has promised to give a big reward to the man who kills him. The king will also give him his daughter to marry and will not require his father's family to pay any tax." That was the promise that Saul, because he was the king by then, had given to anyone who could fight Goliath. Let's jump to verse 34. So this is the time that David went to the king and told him that you were gonna fight Goliath. "Your Majesty," David said, "I take care of my father's sheep. Whenever a lion or a bear carries off a lamb, I go after it and attack it and rescue the lamb. And if the lion or bear turns on me, I grab it by the throat and beat it to death. I have killed the lions and bears, and I will do the same to this heathen Philistine who has defiled the army of the living God. The Lord has saved me from lions and bears. He will save me from this Philistine." "All right," Saul answered. "Go, and the Lord be with you." He gave his own armor to David for him to wear, a bronze helmet which he put on David's head, and a coat of armor. David strapped Saul's sword over the armor and tried to walk, but he could not, because he wasn't used to wearing them. "I can't fight with all this," he said. "I'm not used to it." So he took it off. He took his shepherd's stick and then picked up 5 smooth stones from the stream and put them in his bag. With his sling ready, he went out to meet Goliath. So in the next verse, you will hear how now Goliath started speaking ill of David. And this is what he said. The Philistine started walking towards David with his shield bearer walking in front of him. He kept coming closer, and when he got a good look at David, he was filled with the scorn for him because he was just a nice, good-looking boy. He said to David, "What's that stick for? Do you think I am a dog?" And he called down curses from his God on David. God, the gods that they were praying, the Philistine. It says that he called down curses from God on David. "Come on," he challenged David, "and I will give your body to the birds and animals to eat." David answered, "You are coming against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel's army, which you have defied. This very day the Lord will put you in my power. I will defeat you and cut off your head." and I will give the bodies of the Philistine soldiers to the birds and animals to eat. Then the whole world will know that Israel has a God, and everyone here will see that the Lord does not need swords or spears to save his people. He is victorious in battle, and he will put all of you in our power. Goliath started walking towards David again, and David ran quickly towards the Philistine battle line to fight him. He put his hand into his bag and took out a stone, which he slung at Goliath. It hit him on the forehead and broke his skull, and Goliath fell face downwards on the ground. And so, without a sword, David defeated and killed Goliath with a sling and a stone. He ran to him, stood over him, took Goliath's sword out of its sheath, and cut off his head and killed him. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they ran away. That's what they did. They ran away after David slung Goliath's head when he fell face downwards, and he took the same weapons that he had. That is one of his sword. He took it. That is David, and cut off Goliath's head, as he had promised. The men of Israel and Judah shouted and ran after them, pursuing them all the way to Gath and to the gates of Ekron. The Philistines fell wounded all along the road that leads to Sharim, as far as Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites came back from pursuing the Philistines, they looted their camps. David picked up Goliath's head and took it to Jerusalem, but he kept Goliath's weapon in his own tent. So, after the Philistines' bodies were laying over the road where they were running, where the Israelites were running after them, after Goliath had been killed, so David kept Goliath's head. This was an evidence for Saul to know that he had killed the enemy of the Israelites. So I believe you have enemies. I believe there are people who have been talking ill of you, or they have made you suffer, or your enemy have been discouraging you or challenging you for certain things to do. But remember that our fight is not for spears and swords, as David told Goliath that we belong to the living God. He knows how to fight for us. So do not take a step of fighting for yourself. Believe in God and trust in Him, and He will fight for you. Remember, the next time that the enemy was given to David, it was Saul. Remember, Saul became an enemy to David after all that had happened, after he was anointed to be the king. Their grudge started there because Saul was just looking at David as a small boy, as even Goliath was looking at him. And there is this time that Saul was after David, and David was hiding in the hills. So at this time, Saul went to a cave where David was hiding, and he was relieving himself. But David cut off his robe. Now that shows that God had given power over, he had given Saul over to his enemy David as he was seeing it, but David never killed him. So you do not have to kill your enemy. You do not have to pray bad prayers for them, as so many people regard as praying or referring them to the Psalms 109. You might not necessarily pray for them that prayer, but when you trust in God, the right time He will hand over your enemy to your power, and they will come to you, asking you to forgive them, asking you to help them at a time when they are in need. Remember, at this time, when Saul had that he was under the power of David because he cut his robe, he told him that he should spare his life. Later, he told him that he should make sure that his name does not just go like that, because he now knew that David was really the anointed king of Israel by the living God. So you do not have to fight for yourself. Believe and trust in the Lord. As a believer, you pray and you ask God to revenge and fight for you. You do not use spears and swords to fight your enemies. But if you trust in the Lord, no matter how long it will take, be patient, trust in God, and He will fight for you. May the Lord bless you as you wait for the Lord to give you victory over your enemies, over the things that have been challenging you. They have been your enemy of progress. Either it's a family, don't pray for them bad prayers, but pray that the Lord of revenge will give you a vengeance on behalf of you, other than for you revenging and fighting and hurting them. May the Lord give you vengeance. That is when you will realize that God has given you power over your enemy. May the Lord bless you. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.